With all that is happening in the world right now, it's truly a reminder that we are not home and still sojourners in a strange land. We are ready to leave Egypt and waiting eagerly to live in total freedom in the Most High's ways. Yes, just as it was of old time, the children of Israel lived within the borders of the world financial and military power, so it is the same today. Also knowing our Redeemer and greater exodus is nigh at hand. Let us prepare for the Father's set-apart Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. Shabbat Shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube live stream. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. Tonight we're going to be talking all about the spring festivals of the Most High, which are coming up pretty soon. Specifically, we're going to be talking about mostly tonight Passover and the week of Unleavened Bread. We'll be talking a little bit more about first fruits another time. Any case, so a lot of you have reached out to me. For a lot of you out there, this will be your first Passover, and you have a lot of questions: how to do it, when to do it. Some more questions about what exactly it symbolizes. And so tonight, I want this to be a pretty in-depth study. Of course, as always, this won't be exhaustive. I couldn't fit everything in here, but wanted this to be a good go-to for. Even some of you out there that have been doing this for many years, it's my hope that you can glean some stuff from this as well. But before we get started, quick prayer. Ask the Father to bless this study, and we will move forward. Heavenly Father, Yahuwah, we come before you in Yahushua's name, and we bless you and thank you for giving us salvation through your Son in whom we believe. And we thank you for opening our eyes to your whole word in these last days, that we may be not only hearers, but doers of your word. And we bless you in Yahushua's name, and we say Shabbat Shalom. Amen. Amen, amen. Okay, so before we get started, do a quick shofar, and then we'll get started for real. If you weren't awake yet, you're awake now, so welcome. So what we're going to be doing tonight, I'm actually, this is not live, unfortunately. We've had some issues. It seems that there's something just maybe in the back panel with YouTube that's not allowing me to live stream without buffering all over the place. So we did this pre-recorded and released it as a premiere. Still have the live chat for Friday night at 8 p.m. in any case. So, but we tried to do this last week and it didn't work out, and I'm actually very thankful because it allowed me to go completely read through the study and completely redo it from the top down, and I think it's much better positioned to help. Plus, I was able to turn it into an article as well. For those of you that would want to come back and refer to this, maybe around Passover time, because we're doing this a couple months prior. So maybe around Passover time, you want to come back and reference this and kind of use this for your own Passover service and week of Unleavened Bread. You can always come back to the article and instead of having to come back to this video. So I'll make sure to leave a link for that article in the description box as a pinned comment. And yes, so here we go. So we're going to do a screen share of that study I'm talking about, and basically I'm just going to go over it with you and make some of my own comments along the way as we go through it. So with that, let's get started. So how to Passover and Unleavened Bread 2021. Again, kind of tucked in between this week of amazingness, you have the festival, or you have the offering of the first fruits as well, which we'll touch on tonight, but we'll go over it as we get closer to that time. I want to focus on these two, which are are really the core of what's going on here. So Passover 2021. So I'm going to read it to you, and I'll make some comments along the way. So the spring festivals are drawing close. Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread and First Fruits. What a way to kick off Yahuwah's true New Year. So the one that happened, a couple months ago is not the real one. On the calendar we follow, the new year will begin on the evening of April the 13th, and here's a link of how we understand his calendar. We just embarked on a new series called the Calendar Series, nothing fancy, and the first one was I shared with how I understand to calculate the feast days based off of how I understand the heavenly luminaries and how to start the year, the months, everything. So if you want some clarification as to why I'm going to be a little month later behind everyone else, I gave you my full explanation there. So for some of you, this may have become routine by now. However, according to many emails, messages, and comments, for some, this will be your first time keeping his set-apart days. This is amazing. Regardless of where you are in your walk right now, it is my mission that you may glean some good information as to the history, deep understandings, and prophetic implications for these festival days. Most importantly, it is my mission to help you know how to keep these most excellent days that Yahuwah has given us to remember forever. And the reason I say how is because there's a lot of traditions that have been added to this, which we'll talk more about here in a second. So let's go over the history first real quickly. When we look at history, his story, right? Let's start with the account of the Passover in Egypt. We will read from Exodus chapter 12 and 13. At this point, 9 plagues have already come upon the Egyptians, and one was soon to come, the last one. Reading these 2 chapters is a must, in my opinion, for any Passover gathering. The Word is our best reference, better than any man can teach you. Later, we will cover how the Passover was a preparation for the first coming of Messiah, and prophecy yet to be fulfilled, and how we can celebrate it today without the leaven of man-made tradition. So here I've got a link for the chapters of Exodus 12 and 13. I've got the Sefer translation up for you. So if you're reading this article, I will be expounding on some verses in the video we're covering. So obviously you're watching this as a video. So here we go. So if you come back to reference this article, you can just come back, click on this link, and it'll take you right here, and you can read it for yourself in the Sefer translation if you'd like. So Exodus 12, the Passover. And Yahuwah spoke unto El Moshe and El Ahron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, Mitzrayim is Egypt, by the way. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the assembly of Yisrael, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. I can't remember what text says it, but I think it was 10 people per lamb. I can't remember if that was Jubilees or Yashar, but your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So a lot of you know without blemish. We know that Messiah was without blemish. We'll talk more about that later. And ye shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month, and the whole multitude of the assembly of Yisrael shall kill it in the evening. So this will be the evening of the 14th day of the first month of the Hebrew calendar. And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and matzah, which is unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it till the morning ye shall burn with fire. We'll talk more about the implications of what this is talking about here again as well. And thus ye shall eat it with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Pesach, it's Passover. So this is what the word tells us to do, is to eat it like in preparation of leaving. And I can tell you, every Passover moving forward, I'm going to be hoping for that bigger exodus that a lot of us are waiting for. So praise Yah. Okay, so For I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast, and against all the Elohai of Mitzrayim, this is the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you for a mark upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And we know that the Apostle Peter said that, Yahusha, he sprinkled his blood, right? His blood was an offering for us. It was just like when Moshe sprinkled the blood on all the people when they came into the covenant in Exodus 24. So the same is for us. And so imagine the blood of Messiah Yahusha spiritually is covering us. So praise Yah for that. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Ye shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days ye shall eat matzah. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats chametz, unleavened bread, from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Yasharel. And in the first day there shall be a holy assembly, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy assembly to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall guard the feast of Matzah, unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day I have brought your armies out of the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore ye shall guard this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. And the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at evening, ye shall eat matzah, until the 21st day of the month at evening. So from evening to evening, as he tells us how to celebrate this. 7 days there shall be no chametz found in your houses, for whosoever eats that which is with chametz, leaven, right, so yeast, even that soul shall be cut off from the assembly of Yasharel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing with chametz, with leaven. In all your habitations ye shall eat unleavened bread, matzah. So let's switch back over. So again, I would recommend you reading all of Exodus 12 and 13. I'm not going to go through all of this right now because we're actually going to go back and we're going to discuss it in great detail. We'll probably come back and finish this a little bit later, but I wanted to just kind of set the precedence of the Passover, being in Egypt, and the kind of a inaugural event, if you will. So let's talk about why we celebrate the biblical feast today. And the biblical feasts are Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost or Shavuot, trumpets, Day of Atonement, tabernacles, and definitely not least, and probably most importantly, the weekly Shabbat is also a biblical feast as well. If you're reading this or watching the video, perhaps you already understand that we are not called to celebrate the holidays of the world. Christmas, Easter, and others, these holidays have been mixed with pagan practices just as it was thousands of years ago. Referencing pagan practices, this is what Yahuwah said about worshiping him that way. Take heed to yourselves that you be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before you, and that you inquire not after their Elohim, after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their Elohim? Even so will I do likewise. You shall not do so unto Yahuwah Elohika. For every abomination to Yahuwah which he hates have they done unto their Elohim. And wouldn't you know that the people that were fleeing religious persecution in Europe, coming out this way, did you know that they made it illegal to celebrate Christmas in this country? And it stayed that way until I think really the late 1800s, and some of the states, even the early 1900s, it was still illegal because it's a pagan holiday. It has nothing to do with the scriptures. So, but hopefully you probably have an idea of where that is already at this point. So that's probably why you're looking into Passover. So we can hopefully at least reason with one another and agree that we're not supposed to do the pagan practices. So this is the everlasting command to keep these festivals. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. And this is referencing the Passover and unleavened bread. Nevertheless, some have said that we cannot do Passover today due to this other command. You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates, which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, but at the place which Yahuwah your Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that you came forth out of Egypt. And that's Deuteronomy 16:5-6. So a lot of people will say, we can't even do, hey, stop the pump the brakes. We can't even do Passover because unless you're doing it in Jerusalem and then at the temple, you can't do it. Totally hear that and totally understand where people are coming from with that. We have to again be able to reason with one another. Let's take a look at some other stuff. So with these two sections of scriptures, what are we to do today? So we have one command that tells us to keep it forever, right? There's one command that says keep the Passover forever throughout your generations, period. Then another says that we can only do it in Jerusalem, right? So here I offer my opinion. The command in Deuteronomy 16 was given to the people that were about to inherit the promised land, right? So this was literally like a month before they walked into the promised land. The inheritance that they lost and forfeited due to disobedience. We are now in dispersion back in Egypt, spiritually that is. I would humbly suggest that the command to do Passover supersedes the other, and let us keep this in mind. Howbeit the Most High dwells not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. What house will you build me, saith Yahuwah? Or what is the place of my rest? Hath not my hand made all these things? And this is the famous speech of Stephen in Acts 7:48-50, and he's quoting Isaiah 66. Also, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them, Matthew 18:20. So, brothers and sisters, the Ruach HaKodesh dwells in us. His name has been placed upon us, in our foreheads, hopefully. He is with us. We are no longer looking to be reunited in physical Jerusalem, but New Jerusalem, which is to be revealed with Messiah Yahushua. It is my conclusion that we should be observing Passover like the Israelites in captivity in Egypt who were waiting for deliverance. So remember, there's this command right here that tells us not to do the Passover anywhere but Jerusalem, but yet we see the very first Passover was done outside of Jerusalem, and also the I think was it. Anyways, so yeah, we're in Egypt. We're in a very parallel state as the Israelites were in Egypt thousands of years ago, awaiting their rescue. We're in the exact same place as they were in Egypt. You can call it spiritual Egypt or really even physical Egypt at this point, but we won't get too far down that rabbit trail tonight. But so that's how I understand it, and I agree. I have to say, because we have two scriptures. One says to do it forever, and the other says don't do it in Jerusalem. I believe that the one that says to do it supersedes the one that only says do it in Jerusalem, because Yah knows we're in dispersion. Yah knows that there's no temple in Jerusalem. We can't go. There's no temple to accept our sacrifices. Even if there was, it wouldn't be acceptable because Yahusha is our high priest up in the heavens. So, any case, I believe we're to keep it as best as we can wherever we're at. So let's move on to, so we talked about why we still celebrate today. Let's talk about now how we celebrate today. So before we get into the details, I must say we have to be very cautious about traditions. The majority of set-apart believers today have left modern-day Christianity, which most of us know full well is littered with man-made teachings that you just can't find in the scriptures. What has been extremely unfortunate is that some have left false Christianity and jumped all the way over to the other extreme into Judaism. Growing up in this false way, I can tell you Judaism is riddled with even more man-made teachings. It's the same stuff Yahusha rebuked in his day, plus even more traditions that have been added over the past 2,000 years. So here's a kind of little graphic. So we know that the way is straight, it's narrow, and I believe there's two major sidetracks that keep people from going on the way, and that's modern-day Christianity and Judaism. So with this word of caution, I think we ought to apply it to the Passover meal. Some man-made traditions added to the Passover meal include the Seder plate. Most of you have seen it. It's the plate with the lamb shank with the so they don't eat any lamb anymore, right? The egg, the cha'aroset, just a bunch of stuff added to it. So also the command for the 4 cups of wine. They have a tradition that you drink 4 cups of wine. Now some people would interpret it as 4 sips of the same cup, but most people do the 4 cups of wine. And leaving a seat empty for Elijah, whose coming was fulfilled with Yahuwah the Immerser, John the Baptist. These traditions are just not found in Torah and need to go out the window, in my opinion. If you're wanting to glean some understanding from where I'm at, we just got to throw them out the window. So drinking wine is not prohibited by Torah. However, I've seen firsthand that for some people, 4 cups of wine equals drunkenness, and that is not what Yahuwah wants on his festival day. Have fun, absolutely. Those of us that are adults know the difference between having some wine and having some wine. There's a big difference. And I just don't think drunkenness is proper for his feast day, in my opinion. And again, 4 cups for a lot of people is drunkenness. Some of these ceremonies and rituals can be really fun. I get it. And I could tell you firsthand, there was a thing called hiding the afikomen when I growing up doing Passover, as a child. I love it. Was fun. You hide the matzah, and the children goes and finds it, and they get a prize. And I'm not here to say that you can't have some family traditions that add to the fun of it, but I think the basics of the Passover meal should be scriptural. And when we have a Seder plate that's not scriptural, it's my opinion that we need to toss it out the window. As fun as it may be, as fun as the ceremony may be, and all the rituals they go through, I've been led to just say, no, thank you. Let's keep it to scripture. So again, some of these ceremonies can be really fun. I get it. Although I think it's time we learned our lesson. Let's do it his way. After all, it's about him, not us. So let's talk about some of the timing. Here is the commandment in Leviticus. These are the feasts of Yahuwah, even the holy assemblies, which ye shall proclaim in their appointed times. And by the way, we're going to talk more about how to do it the right way here shortly. In the 14th day of the first month at evening is Yahuwah's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of Matzah, unleavened bread, unto Yahuwah. 7 days ye must eat matzah, unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have a holy assembly. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy assembly. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So Leviticus 23, 4-9. So some people, we're going to expound on this a little bit, because some people get confused because they're like, okay, wait, so the Passover meal is on the 14th day of the month at evening, but then the Feast of Unleavened Bread doesn't start until the 15th day. So because some people are, morning to morning, or they still go off the Gregorian calendar, they're thinking they have Passover that night, and then a whole day passes, and then the next day is Unleavened Bread. It gets kind of confusing sometimes. Let's look here in the book of Yovelim, Jubilees. The timing is much clearer of when the day changes and those kind of things. So remember the commandment which Yahuwah commanded you concerning the Passover, that you should celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before it is evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. For on this night, the beginning of the festival and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Passover in Egypt, when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive, maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. So what is really neat about this verse is that it lets us know that the changing of the day comes when it switches from evening, sunset, to nighttime. So this is kind of just showing you what's happening. So it says to kill it before it is evening on the sunset of the 14th, and to eat it on the night of the 15th. So for any other understanding other than the day changes at nighttime. So when the sun finally goes down and it's nighttime, that's when the date changes. Because think about it, any other way, it wouldn't make sense. Because if the day changed at morning, then you would have to kill the Passover at evening on the 14th. And then you have to wait all through the night, and then wait till it's morning, and then it's telling you to eat it at nighttime on the 15th. So you literally have to wait after it's killed to eat it 24 hours. So let's read that again real quickly, just so you understand the proper timing of it. So remember the commandment which Yahuwah commanded you concerning the Passover, that you should celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before it is evening, so as the sun's drawing down to come to a close, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. And that's exactly what Leviticus is telling you here. With that understanding, let's go back to Leviticus. These are the feasts of Yahuwah, even the holy assemblies, which ye shall proclaim in their appointed times. In the 14th day of the first month at evening is Yahuwah's Passover, and on the 15th month of the same, on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of Matzah, unleavened bread. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Now, let's not forget that unleavened bread starts at the 15th of the month with that Passover meal, because you're what? You're commanded to eat unleavened bread during that Passover meal. So let's move on. So the Passover meal is to be eaten at night on the 15th day of the month. This feast starts the week of unleavened bread and continues for 7 full days. Prior to the Passover meal, all your leavened breads, your yeast, your baking soda — some say baking soda is fine, but I would say that's a leavening agent, so I'd get it out. So all your yeast, your baking soda in the house should be tossed in the garbage. After the week of unleavened bread, you can purchase more. Yes, I know your sourdough starter is amazing, and you've had it going for a year now, and it's tough to let it go, but obedience to the word is more important. And, there's quite a few things to look at. Cookies and tortillas, a lot of these things have leaven in it. Some of the things you wouldn't even imagine have leaven in it. So we're just still talking about timing. So I will be celebrating from the evening of April 27th. We're just going off the Gregorian calendar so you can understand it better. So I'll be celebrating from the evening of April 27th. This is the Passover meal at that night after sunset, and keeping the week of unleavened bread until the evening of May 4th. Evening to evening at this period is how Yahuwah taught us to count 7 days. Because remember, he says to eat the unleavened bread from the evening on the 14th to the evening of the 21st. He says to eat unleavened bread 7 days, so that's Yahuwah teaching us how to count 7 days. First fruits will be the evening of May 1st to the evening of May 2nd. We'll talk more about first fruits another time. So if you would like some help on pinpointing the correct dates to celebrate this year and how I arrived at these dates, here are some resources. So quick reference here, why Passover 2021, why April 27th. So I kind of go over it really quickly, how I arrived there. Very short article, just so if you want to look at some dates really quickly. And then more in depth, how to calculate the feast days. So I have an article here, and this is a pretty long one. This is a pretty in-depth article of how I got there. And then here is the video of basically covering that article with just a little more explanation on my part. So now let's talk about the meal, the Passover meal. So the scriptures keep it simple. So remember, the Passover Seder, probably a lot of fun. I did it all my life growing up. I even did it 2 years ago. Last year was the first year I decided to dump it. This will be my second year dumping the Seder plate. A lot of fun, I get it, but let's keep it to Scripture, in my opinion. So the Scriptures keep it simple, and that's how we'll be doing it. The meals that follow after Passover during the week of unleavened bread, you can get fancy, right? But remember, no leavened bread, though. So a lot of people like to do flatbread pizza. It's a good idea. But let's stick to the Word. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and matzah, unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire. His head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus ye shall eat it with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste, so quickly. It is Yahuwah's Pesach, and that's, again, Exodus 12, 8 through 11. So, lamb, unleavened bread, bitter herbs, that's it. I do think we had some butter last year. I'm going to pray about that, because the unleavened bread with a little bit of butter was really good. But I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I don't know. Maybe we'll do butter again this year. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I'm just being upfront with you so that, I'm not disclosing anything. So last year we did butter, and it was amazing. I'm going to pray to Yah and see if if butter's okay this year. So everybody, we're all accountable to Yah on our own. So you pray about what you're going to do. I'm just giving you a study and a suggestion of kind of where I'm at and where I've arrived in my walk. I know some of you out there are vegetarian and or vegan. I get it. Personally, I don't eat flesh other than fish at this time. It's just a season I'm in. I'm not anti-meat. The scriptures are very clear that eating meat is A-okay. And some of the best patriarchs had a great time eating meat. Why I don't eat meat at this time is a whole different subject. Not really going to get into it, but I'm just in a season of not doing so. So I don't eat meat, but however, this is the one day of the year I will. It's a command, in my opinion. Or no, it's not in my opinion. It is a command. So in my opinion, we should keep that command. If you would say Messiah Yahusha is the Passover Lamb and fulfilled this requirement, couldn't we also then say he fulfilled all the commandments and we no longer need to do those either? Just something. I'm not being sassy, but just something to consider. A lot of people I hear that say, he fulfilled that, so we don't have to do that. We can certainly use that argument and say that if we go that route, we can just say, he fulfilled the Sabbath, he fulfilled all the feast days. We don't even have to do the feast days anymore. And then now all of a sudden we're back into modern day Christianity. So just something to think about. I'm not telling you have to eat meat. I'm not your daddy. I'm just your brother with a study here. Offering my opinion and where and how I see the scriptures. Most of us are not livestock owners, so it may be difficult to do the lamb ourselves. Totally get that, and which is totally understandable. If you're going to get your meat somewhere, I would recommend doing your homework prior. If you're watching this, sometime before Passover, hopefully it's well in advance. You can call some local butchers. I mean, even if you live in Los Angeles, I know there's probably some farms maybe outside the city you can contact. Maybe it's worth an hour drive, 2-hour drive, and get yourself some clean meat. So I would recommend doing your homework prior. We should care where the meat came from and how it was handled. This is probably one of the number one reasons why I'm not eating meat at this time. Was the blood drained properly? Was it processed in a plant that is halal? This is a very intense subject that needs to be discussed, and this is not going to be in depth at all right now. I'm just going to briefly touch the subject of halal. Halal is a practice of slaughtering animals in a scriptural way, which is good, right? Because Muslims eat animals in a scriptural way. The blood's got to be drained, not strangled, those kind of things. So surface level, good thing. However, there is much speculation that during this process, the animal is said to have been slaughtered in the name of this deity. Some say that's the same deity we worship. I do not agree. This is not something I have been able to prove or disprove, but I often think of this. But I have a few things against you, because you have them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Yashrael, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication, Revelation 2:14. The enemies of Yahuwah are acting like Balaam on a worldwide scale, a constant barrage of convincing the masses to walk in error to the Most High's ways. I wouldn't be surprised if the claim about the majority of meat available in the stores today to be unlawful flesh. So, this is something that I would just ask you to pray about and consider. I don't think that going to your local supermarket and just picking up a prepackaged pack of lamb is the best thing to do, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. I'm not your teacher, just your brother with a study here, offering my understanding. But there are some good butcheries out there that still do it in a biblical way. They drain the blood all the way. They don't sell the blood. They don't bleach the flesh. They just wash it with water. And, if you can find some land where the bones haven't been crushed and broken, that's a great thing to do as well. Those of you that have brethren that have farms and have lambs and can do it in the most scriptural way, I would recommend trying to do it as close to scriptural as possible. So halal meats are flooding our country and this world. Do your own research on the matter. For me, it's not worth the risk of eating something slaughtered to another god. But the decision as to where you get your lamb and any future meat, in my opinion, is between you and Yahuwah. Do a little bit of investigation. You may be able to source local farmers who slaughter and butcher the animals the right way. Because regardless, so at the end of the day, you have to remember, you say, every animal that you eat is sacrificed. The animal gave its life so you can eat it. So I would recommend finding the animal that was sacrificed in the right way and not sacrificed to another god. Regardless of where you source the lamb meat, it needs to be roasted in fire. I would recommend keeping this part as close to Scripture as it is possible for you to do. Also, whatever remains after the meal is over, again, if you can, burn it in fire. I get some of you that are living in apartment buildings in the middle of the city. You may not be able to roast it with fire. I get it. Maybe you have a barbecue out in your patio. Great. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But again, my theme here with this is my recommendation would be to try to keep it as scripturally sound as you can. I think the Father can meet us anywhere we're at. So, unleavened bread, there are so many recipes out there. My recommendation is in the weeks prior leading up to Passover, try different recipes and get a feel for how you prefer it. Here was mine last year. Very simple. 4 cups of flour, 2/3 cup of water, 2/3 cup of olive oil. And this is warm water, I think. 2/3 cup of olive oil, salt to taste. Knead it. Make it into 4 to 5 inch flattened circles. Bake at 450, 8 to 15 minutes. So obviously ovens and altitudes vary. And there's tons of different recipes out there. I would avoid recipes using honey or sugar. And also there's recipes out there using like garlic and onion. I would keep it simple if possible, at least with the unleavened bread. I think the unleavened bread should be very simple. During the week of unleavened bread, as you continue with your feast all week long, I think you can have some fancy stuff, but my opinion again would just be keep the bread simple. You can also buy pre-made matzah crackers or even some tortillas. I say some tortillas. However, be very careful with these as most have baking soda in them. I'm talking about the tortillas. If you buy pre-made matzah crackers, they don't have any kind of baking soda or anything in them. So be careful with these tortillas as most have baking soda in them. If you go to like your normal bread aisle and you see tortillas there from all the major companies, almost every one of them has baking soda in them. So typically the only ones you can get without baking soda are the refrigerated kind that you cook at home. So they're pre-made, pre-flattened, ready for you to just put on a pan. Those are the ones that don't have any leaven in them. However, be careful, the ones I used to enjoy were made with GMOs. So now I make my own homemade tortillas, and quite frankly, they're better anyways. It just takes a little bit of work. I think we're all so pampered. Putting a little bit of work into it, it ends up being a much tastier tortilla. We're eating tacos tonight, so I actually pre-made some tortilla dough today, and I'm gonna flatten it out a little bit later and cook it myself. So. Sometimes a little of your own hard work and elbow grease ends up paying off, and it's healthier for you. So anyways, make your own unleavened bread or tortillas. Again, be careful. Look at the ingredients closely, and or buy matzah crackers. That's your 3 options. Bitter herbs. There has been some discussion as of late that the bitter herbs are an insertion, and that this word actually means that the feast was to be observed in bitterness, because the word for bitter herbs is marar or maror. So alongside this, some have said that the whole week of unleavened bread, you are to eat unleavened bread only, as in no other foods whatsoever. Here is my study and my conclusion on the matter. I do not agree with those claims. And in all fairness, the brother that brought this up to me, I love very much. And so I'm not saying this in any way to belittle you, brother. I love you very much. I've actually learned quite a bit from you. But on this, I just don't agree. And so anybody that wants to kind of test that out, if you've heard it kind of going around on Facebook or maybe in the comment section in YouTube, do we only eat unleavened bread during the week of unleavened bread? I feel like this is a pretty in-depth study. How about that? So bitter herbs can come in many forms: lettuce, parsley, dandelion leaves, and many others. Last year, I enjoyed making a salad from a combination of dandelions and parsley. This command is sort of wide open, so especially since we are in dispersion and have different availability depending on where we are, it kind of gets fun. Again, where we are here in Southwest Missouri, we had dandelions everywhere, and last year was actually the same year I learned that dandelions are healthy for you and they're actually kind of tasty. And so it was, of course, the feast comes at springtime, and so there was dandelions all over the yard. And that last year was the first year I didn't get mad anymore. I'm like, these dandelions everywhere, they spread. Great, they're healthy for you. And there's some purple little kind of bitter-ish flower too. Was it purple nettle, purple stinging nettle? Not stinging nettle, maybe purple nettle. I can't remember. So I forgot to put that in here. So it was a salad of that purple nettle, dandelion, and parsley. And so it was actually pretty good. So I enjoyed it. So you may live in different parts of the country. You may have something else that might spring up in your yard. You don't even have to go to the store for. So just something to consider. So wine. While wine isn't commanded here, it was consumed during the feast. Here's our reference. And all the families of Mitzrayim wept upon that night, each man for his son and each man for his daughter, being the firstborn. And the tumult of Mitzrayim was heard at a distance on that night. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went forth with the king on that night to seek Moshe and Aharon in their houses. And they found them in their houses, eating and drinking and rejoicing all with Yasharel. And this is Yashar 80, 48 through 49, and this is referencing Passover. Also, this is Jubilees 49:6. And all Yasharel was eating the flesh of the Passover lamb and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing and giving thanks to Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Egypt from all evil bondage. And so this is exactly how I think we should celebrate it. Happy, again, have a little bit of wine. Enjoy yourself. Just don't get drunk. Enjoy it. This is a feast day. Remember all those years that you used to, meet your family at Christmas, and you used to have a little bit of that spiked eggnog, and you need to be happy and joyful. Listen, do that, but for Yahuwah's timing. I'm not talking about the eggnog and all that stuff. I'm just saying, like, celebrate his feast with joy. This isn't supposed to be like, oh, the Passover, I just have to eat lamb and unleavened bread and this bitter herbs and have a little bit of wine, enjoy yourselves, but don't get crazy. Listen, learn moderation, right? That's one of the things that we have to learn, is that moderation is key. Moderation in everything. Moderation with food, right? People that are not moderate with food, they become giants. That's not what Yahuwah wants us. I'm not judging anybody, because listen, I've dealt with my weight all my life. I'm just saying, moderation is something that we need to have in a lot of things, other than our love for Him and our desire to study and read the Word. I have seen people, go too overboard, but anyways, rabbit trail, we don't need to go down. But enjoy yourselves is what I'm getting at here. I think Jubilees 49 really captures the whole picture of Passover. Let me read it one more time, because really, this is a joyful day, and we'll talk more about its relation to Messiah. We can look at Messiah and what He's done for us. He's freed us, but at the same time, we're still in physical Egypt right now, spiritual Egypt, physical and spiritual Egypt, awaiting our rescue. This is the night that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be hoping that it's our time. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But let me read this verse, because I think it really captures the whole picture of Passover. And all Yasharel was eating the flesh of the Passover lamb and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing and giving thanks to Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Egypt from all the evil bondage, from the evil bondage. Perfect. That's a perfect way of capturing Passover right there. Lastly, I think most of us remember that Messiah Yahushua drank wine also at this feast. Remember, it's called the Last Supper, Passover. Remember, the grape harvest was almost 6 months prior. This is for people that say that, oh, he wasn't drinking wine, he was drinking grape juice. The way of preserving grapes wasn't invented until, was it the 1700s, 1800s by Welch's. So remember, the grape harvest was almost 6 months prior. The only way to preserve grape juice at that time was fermentation, wine, alcohol. You don't have to drink alcohol, but I would recommend having some wine or grape juice if you abstain from alcohol. Or if you're taking the Nazarite vow, stay away from both of them. So the meal is to be eaten in haste / anticipation. And thus ye shall eat it with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Pesach, His Passover. I think this is a good time to discuss the prophetic implications of Passover. While Yahushua, our Messiah, has fulfilled these feasts, He was sacrificed on Passover, entombed on, and was our unleavened bread, and rose on first fruits. There is still a future fulfillment. So this passage I'm about to read for you was removed from the Masoretic text, which the Masoretic text is roughly a 900 AD document, which is what the KJV, the Sefer, and other popular translations come from. Great resource. It's the mainstay for most of us. But however, there's a passage that was left intact in the Greek Septuagint text, roughly 1,100 years older, and it was, for whatever reason, was not included in the Masoretic text. So this passage I'm about to read from you from the Greek Septuagint did not make it into the Masoretic. There's a prophecy about another regathering, the big one that we are all waiting for. In the Septuagint only, it gives us the timing of this prophecy. The passage is found in Jeremiah 38:8, which is equivalent to Jeremiah 31:8 in the Masoretic. For whatever reason, the chapter numbers aren't the same. So Jeremiah 38 is Jeremiah 31. I'm sorry, Jeremiah 38 in the Septuagint is Jeremiah 31 in the Masoretic. I'm sorry if I'm getting confusing. Hopefully this makes sense. So first we're going to read the Masoretic, and I think this is just the KJV. Behold, I will bring them forth. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind, and the lame, and the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. This is talking about the greater Exodus. This is the major regathering, gathering all. This isn't coming back home from Babylon, for 70 years. This is the great regathering of gathering both houses, the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda. So now let's read the Septuagint. This is the same passage, but the Septuagint. Behold, I bring them forth from the north, and will gather them from the end of the earth to the Feast of Passover. And the people shall beget a great multitude, and they shall return hither. So that's Jeremiah 38:8 in the Septuagint. So every year, for the rest of my existence, I'll be hoping that this will be the Passover we've been waiting for. With this in mind, I will be ready to go, loins girded. Just ready to go. Right, fully dressed, shoes on your feet, or sandals, right, if you're wearing sandals. So here below is a fun little fact. So this is in ancient times how to gird up your loins, because they wore tunics. They don't wear stuff like we wear today. They wore tunics. So the tunic would not allow you to do heavy labor or fight in battle, necessitating the girding of one's loins. So it shows you, this is a little pictograph of showing you how they used to gird up their loins back in the day. So this is more likely how they would have eaten the Passover, and not like this, but like this, loins girded up. So first, to hoist up the tunic that the fabric is above your knees. This will give you mobility. Gather the extra material in front of you so that the back of the tunic is snug against your backside. Once the excess fabric is gathered in front, pull it underneath and between your legs under your rear. This feels much like a diaper. Gather the half of the material in each hand and bring it back around the front. Finally, tie your two handfuls of material together, and you're all set for both battle and for some hard labor. Go forth, be men, and gird up your loins. So obviously this is just for fun. So that day, this regathering will be bigger and more widely discussed than the Passover and the Exodus of ancient times. This is a prophecy yet to be fulfilled. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that they shall no more say, Yahuwah lives, which brought up the children of Yashrael out of the land of Egypt, but Yahuwah lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Yashrael out of the north country, and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. Jeremiah 23, 7-8. So come, Messiah Yahusha, gather your people. He's waking us up. Now we're just waiting for our gathering. So celebration specifics. So the week of Unleavened Bread has 2 Sabbaths, the 1st and the 7th days. The evening of the 27th of April on the calendar that I follow until the evening of the 28th is a Sabbath. So if you're just joining us at the beginning of this study, and links should be in the description box and as a pinned comment for where I'm at with the calendar. It's something I uploaded last week. Just called Calculating the Feast Days. The calendar, part 1, Calculating the Feast Days. So likewise, the evening of May 3rd to the evening of May 4th is a Sabbath. That's the 7th day of Unleavened Bread. So no work is to be done except food preparation, and it is also a holy convocation, a public gathering for worship. I know not all of you can gather in person, but perhaps look for an online gathering as a secondary option. So this year, I'm going to talk about it more at the end. This year, we're going to do a public gathering of Passover It's going to be a 3-day camping. I will let you know when I'm going to open up full registration for anybody that wants to come. We're going to have limited spots, but it should be a lot of fun. So with that being said, I won't be online. I won't be online for those dates. So I apologize. I may be available for the 7th day of Unleavened Bread, the last day, or maybe I'll have something pre-recorded so that you guys can gather online. But if you have some local fellowship, I would recommend it. This is a holy convocation. It's a gathering of people together. So let's talk about sacrifices. But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah 7 days. So remember, during this, he's saying that you shall offer offering for 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. So here are some scriptures giving us guidance as to what to do today in regards to sacrifices. 1 Peter 2:5, you also, as living stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by Yahushua HaMashiach. Hebrews 13:12-16, wherefore Yahushua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Let us therefore, this is temple and tabernacle language here. Let us go forth therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. For here we have no continuing city, we're still there right now, but we seek one to come, we're still there right now. By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to Elohim continually. That is, the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. But to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices Elohim is well pleased. So this is something, quite frankly, we should do every day. But I think even more so, and with more earnest and more joy than any normal week. Personally, I think the morning and evening sacrifice is still to be done, which is our morning and evening prayers. But again, on these feast days, I think it should be done with an even more zeal, more excitement, more joy. A lot of things we can talk about there. So if you're wondering about what to do for sacrifices, here it is. So this week should be a week-long festival of joy, giving praise and thanks to his name, something we should honestly be doing every day, but even more so during this festival. Sorry to be repetitive. I didn't realize that I wrote down all my thoughts, or I forgot I wrote down all my thoughts. And the children of Yasharel that were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of Matzah 7 days with great gladness, and with the Leviim, the priests, praised Yahuwah day by day, singing with loud instruments unto Yahuwah. So here's a sneak peek into what that may look like of sacrificing with joy for a week long. Praise Yah. So now let's get into Messiah Yahushua and his fulfillment of being our spotless Passover lamb. The next day, Yahuchanan, John, saw Yahushua coming unto him and saith, behold, the Lamb of Elohim, which takes away the sin of the world. John 1:29. Now, here's a bigger one. This is Isaiah 53. This is a big one. This is a big passage about Messiah, the prophecy of our Messiah. Who but has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yahuwah revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs, and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Amen. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and Yahuwah has laid upon him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is dumb, so he opens not his mouth. And this is why before Pontius Pilate, he could have justified himself. He could have, explained to Pilate, this is a big misunderstanding. No. He zipped it. And that was Isaiah 53, 1-7. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by the tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Messiah, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. And if you were with us at the beginning, sorry, you were with us at the beginning, we saw that the lamb had to be selected from the flock, spotless, without blemish. So Peter knew. And that was 1 Peter 1:18 through 19. So here's that command for the spotless lamb, Exodus 12:3 through 5. Speak ye unto all the congregation of YHWH, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish. A male of the first year, you shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, right? So a lamb without blemish. Your lamb shall be without blemish. Messiah, Yahushua, is undoubtedly our Passover lamb. 1 John 3:5, and ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. So Yahushua had no blemish. Blemish is being likened unto sin. Same thing that Jude talks about keeping our garments unspotted from the world. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. Exodus 12:46. So even more prophecy about Yahushua being that lamb. So there's no bone to be broken of that lamb. So this is a prophecy about him. Psalm 34:20. He keeps all his bones, not one of them is broken. And here's the fulfillment, John 19:33 through 36. But this is when they're getting ready to break all the legs of all three that were crucified that day. But when they came to Yahushua, they saw that he was dead already, and they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith there came out blood and water. And that he saw, and he that saw it bare record, and his record is true, and he knows that he saith true, that you might believe. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. And so what they used to do, really horrific. It was so hard to breathe with being on that cross or stake, pole, whatever you want to call it, tree. You have to literally push on your feet, on the nails driven through your feet, push up so that you can breathe. And that's how they stayed alive. And so if they were staying alive too long, they would break their legs so that they could no longer push up on anything, and so they suffocated to death. So none of the lamb remains until the morning. So Exodus 12:10, and you shall let none of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Exodus 12:10. Now here's Luke 24:1 through 3, the fulfillment of that. Now upon that certain Sabbath, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre, and they entered in, and found not the body of Adonai Yahushua, right? So none of it remained until the morning. So praise Yah. He fulfilled that. Eating the flesh of the Passover. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. So now this is talking about eating the flesh, and this is a really hard passage that Messiah Yahushua teaches. Or not hard teaching, it's the really one that you're just like, what? What are you talking about? So this is John 6:52 through 58. The Jews therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? This is where Yahushua says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you shall not have life. So they said, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Then Yahushua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except that you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Whoso eats my flesh and drinks my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. As the living Father hath sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. This is the bread that which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eats of this bread shall live forever. So he's basically saying, he's declaring himself to be the Passover Lamb, and he's declaring himself to be the unleavened bread here. So this is a great time to transition into Yahusha is also our unleavened bread. But before we do, consider what he just said. So he that eats me, even he shall live by me, considering we know that he is the Word made flesh. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein you dwelt, shall you not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall you not do, neither shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall do my right rulings, and keep my ordinances, to walk therein. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my right rulings, which if a man do, he shall live in them, right? So he that eats me, even he shall live by me. He's also declaring himself to be the Word of Elohim. And I gave them my statutes and showed them my right rulings, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. Ezekiel 20:11. So now let's transition into Yahusha is the unleavened bread. That's a good looking set of unleavened bread there. Now you get that nice little crisp on the top too. That's where I got to perfect it this year. Yeah. I actually really enjoyed it, by the way. After unleavened bread, my children were like, Daddy, bake that bread again. It was really good, I'm telling you. I hope Yah allows maybe to eat butter this year, because let me tell you something. There, just that unleavened bread warmed up with a little bit of butter on it. I mean, I could eat that every day. I don't know why we stopped making it, but for weeks, maybe months afterward, the children kept asking for it. So it was really tasty. Just like his word is very tasty spiritually, right? They said therefore unto him, What sign will you show us then, that we may see and believe you? What do you work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yahushua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moshe gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which comes down from heaven and gives life unto the world. Then they said unto him, Adonai, evermore give us this bread. And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that you also have seen me and believe not. All that the Father gives me shall come to me, and him that comes to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will which hath sent me, that all of which he hath given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which sees the Son and believes on him may have everlasting life. Hallelujah to that. And I will raise him up at the last day. The Jews then murmured at him, because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. And they said, Is this not Yahusha, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I came down from heaven? Yahusha therefore answered and said unto them, Murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught of Elohim. Every man therefore that hath heard and hath learned of the Father comes to me. Not that any man hath seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim. He hath seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believes on me hath everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So that was a long passage, John 6:30-51. And so a lot of things were declared there. Yahushua declared he's, the Passover Lamb. He declared he's the true manna. He declared that he is the bread of life. He declared that he is the Word, which we know the Word says all over the place. If a man abides in the Word and keeps the Word, shall live forever and ever. So this is the next passage. This is expounded at the Last Supper, which is the Passover Meal. Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be killed. So you can see here, even the New Testament knew that the Passover and the unleavened bread starts at the same time. And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And he said unto them, Where wilt thou that we prepare? And he said unto them, Behold, when you are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he enters in. And you shall say unto the goodman of the house, The master saith unto thee, Where is the guest chamber where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them. And they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, With desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Elohim. And he took the cup, and gave thanks, and said, Take this, and divide it amongst yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of Elohim shall come. And he took the bread, and gave thanks, and brake it, and gave it unto them, saying, This is my body, which is given to you. This do in remembrance of me. So he said a lot of things there. First of all, he's saying that Passover is going to be kept when New Jerusalem comes, so that's going to be cool to do every year. Also, that he told us to keep doing it. Do this in remembrance of me. So do the Passover remembering me is what he said. So while we draw a lot from the historical accounts, now we're in an amazing position to see it and do it in the historical accounts, but also to apply it to Messiah Yahushua, which is our Passover lamb, and is the fulfillment of it. But he didn't say, don't continue to do this Passover after I leave because I fulfill it. He said the opposite. He said, keep doing it. But he also said here that this, so he took the bread and brake it and passed it around and gave thanks. And I think that's a good thing to also to do at your Passover meals is to take, I usually make one large piece of bread. I make the smaller ones, again, like 5 to 6 inch discs, but I try to make like a big one, like a pan size one. And that one, I take a piece, break it off, and then I pass it down, and everybody has a piece, and we're all holding that bread, and that's when we pray and get the meal started. But so anyways, he declared himself to be the unleavened bread. So likewise also the cup after the supper, saying, This cup is the New Testament of my blood, which is shed for you. So when we eat the unleavened bread, we should be remembering Messiah, just as we should do with the lamb and the wine. Praise Yahuwah for sending us his Son, the true teacher of the doctrine from above, without the leaven of man's doctrine. And we know that Messiah had likened the teachings of the doctrines of the Pharisees to be leaven, right? And so he was the bread that came down from heaven, which if a man eats of, lives forever. He is that true unleavened bread, and so he's also the fulfillment of that. So praise be to Yahuwah for that. So likewise, also the cup of wine here symbolized his blood, but the true blood, of course, was his blood that was shed on the pole, tree, upright stake, whatever you want to call it. And, with his blood, he renewed the covenant, right? He renewed the covenant with us, just like in Exodus 24, when Moshe brought the people into the covenant. He put some of the blood on the ark and the altar, but he also sprinkled the blood on the people, right? And so the blood brought them into the covenant. And so likewise, Yahushua brought us into the covenant by his blood, which is symbolized by the wine or grape juice to be had at Passover when you celebrate it. So just keep that in mind. So final thoughts, regardless of when and how you celebrate this coming festival season, I am overjoyed to see so many people Yahuwah has woken up with a heart for his ways. And by the way, that's one of the biggest end times markers. Quite frankly, when the fullness of these people arrive and are keeping his ways, I believe is when the end comes. It's called the fullness of the nations, right? Melohai Goyim. This was the prophecy from the beginning when Jacob was blessing the two sons of Joseph. So anyways, that's a whole other story. But I can just see he's waking up more and more and more people each day, really. So this is your first Passover. I'm really excited for you, and praise Yah for that. So it is my hope that you have a better understanding of these amazing feast days and know more about why we remember them. I hope we be worthy to celebrate this together forever within the walls of New Jerusalem. And last thing, I didn't include it here, but it also says, we're actually going to read, let's see how much time we have left. How long have we been going? Yeah, okay. I'm going to read the rest of Exodus 12 and 13. And actually, we'll talk about it after I read it there. So let's go back, and we'll finish with the Aharonic blessing when we finish. So here's where we left off. Exodus 12:21. Then Moshe called for all the elders of Yisrael, and said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahuwah will pass through to smite the Mitzrayim, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And ye shall guard this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. And which shall come to pass when ye are come into the land which Yahuwah will give you, according as he has promised, that ye shall guard this service. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Pesach, his Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Yashrael in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrayim, and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Yashrael went away and did as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe and Aharon. So did they. So here you have them taking the blood from the lamb and putting on the doorpost of their house. Listen, if you're doing your own lamb and you've got the blood, hey, have at it. Again, I think obviously the true fulfillment is the blood of Messiah Yahushua, which was sprinkled for many. But again, if we can keep the Passover as close as possible, do it. The past couple years, we've done we haven't done our own lamb. That's going to be a whole other story when we do this public Passover we're going to do. But in the past, what we did is we just took some what did we take? I think some parsley, right? Because we didn't have any hyssop. We took some parsley and just put some water in a bowl, and we went to the front of our house and did it on there. And so it gets the children involved and whatnot. So again, the whole thing with me is let's just keep it as close as we possibly can. And it was fun. The children, they loved doing it. Like, they loved getting involved, right? They loved helping me make the unleavened bread, all of it. So Exodus 12:29. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahuwah smote all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Mitzrayim, and there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moshe and Aharon by night, and said, Rise up, and get you forth from among the people, both you and the children of Yashrael, and go, serve Yahuwah, as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, be gone, and bless me also. And the Mitzrayim were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We all be dead men. So the Egyptians were like, Get out of here. I hope that this is what happens for us very soon. Like, get out of here. Go to your big building that's hovering in the sky or hovering on, that everybody can see it. Big. All right, I'm going. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Yashrael did according to the word of Moshe, and they borrowed of the Mitzrayim jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the sight of the Mitzrayim, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Mitzrayim. This is going to happen again in the future sense. And the children of Yashrael journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot, about 600,000 on foot that were men beside the children, and a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And this, in my opinion, has so much prophetic implication. We talked about this a lot in the Revelation line-by-line study, where we talked about the 144,000 and the great multitude in Revelation chapter 7. It's the exact same pattern as you see here. The men for war were numbered. So in this case, 620,000. In a future sense, 144,000. And then a great mixed multitude went with them. Women, children, elderly, babies, men not fit for war, whatever. The great mixed multitude came with them. So last time, it could have been a couple million. Maybe this time, same thing, a couple million, 5 million, 10 million. I don't know. Still going to be a very small percentage of the population. And they baked matzah cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Mitzrayim and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Now the sojourning of the children of Yashrael, who dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan, they and their fathers was 430 years. So from the time the promise was given to Abraham, Genesis 15, right? All the way till leaving Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of Yahuwah went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahuwah for bringing them out from the land of Mitzrayim. This is that night of Yahuwah to be observed of all the children of Yashrael in their generations. And here we are, and it's still in the generations of Yashrael, well, whether we be physical or spiritual grafted in, we're still generations of Israel, Yashrael. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe and Aharon, this is the ordinance of the Pesach. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought from many, when you have circumcised him, then ye shall eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. And so, actually, let's keep reading. All the assembly of Yashrael shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Pesach unto Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. And this brings up another topic. Circumcision is a very touchy subject, especially because of, how Paul positions it. I'm here to say that in my understanding, circumcision has not been done away with and is still part of our walk. I am also here to say that I believe the beginning of our faith starts with the circumcised heart, the spiritual circumcision, the one that's done without hands. I believe that is first and foremost. And then as one continues in the faith, they are to be circumcised. Again, I'm not your daddy. I'm not your teacher. I'm just your brother sharing my understanding at this time. I believe we should be circumcised. With that being said, if you ask me, do you have to be physically circumcised to keep the Passover right now? That's a hard subject because, again, if you just came into the faith and your heart is circumcised and you're keeping the commandments, you're keeping Shabbat, and you're ready to do Passover, but you just can't get to do the circumcision before the spring comes, take it up with Yah. Again, I'm not your counselor, but I also did this video way in advance, like about 2 months in advance. A little over 2 months in advance. Maybe you can get it done before then. People that are in the Southwest Missouri area, I've got a brother that is local here that goes to your home and does it. So maybe you can get it done before it's time. I don't know. Would I recommend doing it before? Yes, I would. If you can't get it done before then, but you want to get it done and your heart is circumcised to Yahuwah, again, I'm not the one that says yes or no. The scripture says what it says. No uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Whether that applies now physically and spiritually or just spiritually, that's between you and Yah. And a lot of you will comment here and say, oh, well, Paul says it's not about such and such or such and such. I'm a Torah purist, I guess you could say. I believe, the Torah takes precedence over what anybody else writes. And we know that Yahusha never spoke against nor broke Torah. So that's just that's a touchy subject. I'll agree. So my recommendation is if you can get it done beforehand, get it done. If you can't, take it up to Yah and see if your circumcised heart is a fulfillment or requirement to do this Passover. Regardless of that, this is not the meal to invite any old stranger, someone that doesn't follow the Most High, keep his Torah. This is not in my opinion, not for inviting your family that does not keep Torah. There's other festivals for that, especially Sukkot. Sukkot, you bring everybody in. That's a big old festival. The Passover is very intimate. It's very intimate. It's very special. And Yahuwah says this for a reason. So I'm going to back his Torah, and we'll just keep it at that. So one Torah shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourns among you. Thus did all the children of Yashrael, as Yahuwah commanded Moshe and Aharon, so did they. By the way, if you are interested in the gentleman that is in the Southwest Missouri area, just email me at hello@Parable of the Vineyard. The Vineyard has an E, vineyard.com. hello@parableofthevineyard.com. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahuwah did bring the children of Yashrael out of the land of Mitzrayim by their armies. Chapter 13. Actually, let's go to, we'll just read. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn. Remember, all the firstborn of Egypt were killed. Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Yashrael, both of man and beast, it is mine. We talk more about how this is done in our Torah portions that we do. And Moshe said unto the people, Remember this day in which you came out from Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand Yahuwah brought you out from this place. There shall no chametz, leavened bread, be eaten. This day ye came out in the month Abib, and it shall be when Yahuwah shall bring you into the land of the Canaanim, and the Chittim, and the Amorim, and the Chivim, and the Yebusim. He swore unto your fathers to give you a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days shall you eat matzah, unleavened bread, and then the 7th day shall be a feast to Yahuwah. Matzah shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no chametz be seen with you, neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your quarters. Now remember, he told us to eat matzah, bread, unleavened bread, from the evening of the 14th, so the Passover meal, to the evening of the 21st night of the Hebrew calendar. He just told you, again, how to count 7 days. And ye shall show your son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which Yahuwah did unto me when I came forth out of Mitzrayim. And it, so the keeping of the Passover and unleavened bread, it shall be for a sign unto you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes. Did you catch that? Just like the opposite of the mark of the beast, which is in your hand and in your forehead. So guess what? Keeping the Passover and unleavened bread is as a sign on your hand and a memorial between your eyes, your frontlets, your forehead, that Yahuwah's Torah may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand has Yahuwah brought you out of Mitzrayim. You shall therefore guard this ordinance in its appointed time from year to year. And we'll just stop there. So, yeah. Anyways, so amazing stuff. And again, it is my prayer that you were able to glean something from this. Maybe you're able to refine what you already knew. Maybe this confirmed a lot of things that you already knew. Maybe you learned nothing, but still had a good time going through the scriptures. Praise Yah. Whatever it may be, so be it. Whatever day you celebrate it, praise Yah. I'm just happy to be surrounded by people that want to do these things. Even if we don't agree on every little detail, including the calendar and all these little details, it doesn't matter. I still love you. And I pray that we all be found worthy to enter into the gates, into the city through the gates, into New Jerusalem. So praise Yah for that. We're going to end with a couple things. Actually, I want to go back and I'll just do the we'll do the priestly blessing. We'll do the prayer, and we're going to do 2 songs. We're going to do the song of Moshe, and we're going to do one other one. I'm not sure which one we're going to do. Maybe the seed of Abraham that Jake and I did. So give me just a moment. So we'll do the priestly blessing. Actually, we'll pray first. Heavenly Father, let's bow our hearts. Heavenly Father, Yahuwah, Most High, we come before you in Yahusha's name, and we thank you for, again, sending your unspotted Lamb for us, the Lamb that took away the sins of the whole world, Messiah Yahusha, into whom we believe, and to know that we could not have come back to you but by Messiah Yahusha, your word. And we bless you and thank you for opening to our eyes to your whole word, especially these feast days, which are such a blessing, your Shabbats, all of it. We just thoroughly enjoy casting off the ways of the world and putting on your ways, O Yahuwah, and celebrating you the way you've ordained it forever and ever throughout our generations as a lasting ordinance. And we bless you and we praise you, and we hope to celebrate this feast and others with you for all of our lives. In Yahusha's name, hallelujah, and amen and amen. Yevarechecha Yahuwah, Yerish merecha, Yaer Yahuwah, Panav elecha, Vechu neka, Yesa Yahuwah, Panav elecha, Veyasem lecha shalom. Yahuwah will bless you and keep you. Yahuwah will make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah will lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom, give you peace. Let's sing, brothers and sisters. Let's sing unto Yahuwah's glory.
I sing to Yahuwah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahuwah is a man of battle, Yahuwah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumes them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahuwah, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuwah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling. The Mikdash, O Yahuwah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuwah reigns forever and ever.
What a great way to end it. I think we actually will end it there. That's again tribute to or praise Yah for putting that on Brother Alan Horvath's heart to sing. Just like the Passover and Unleavened Bread have so much history and prophetic implications, so does the Song of Moshe. It's not only a song of history, it's a song of prophecy. So hopefully some of the imagery kind of helped you see that and what that might look like in a future sense. But I think we'll end it there. And thanks for joining, brothers and sisters. Again, I pray that you glean something, but most importantly, I pray that Yahuwah be glorified, that a group of people is waking up and wanting to keep his ways with all of their heart, all their soul, and all their mind. So Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters, and we'll see you soon.